The new Guild Wars 2 Elite Spec beta will be here tomorrow, and everybody's super excited for it. We're gonna be able to play all of these classes, test them out in the new beta by creating characters with these classes, with these new slots that you usually get in these betas, and then you're gonna be able to do content normally as you do in Guild Wars 2 with other people and test them out. But there's one little problem with this. Usually when you want to try a new class, you go to Meta Battle, you go to Snowcrows, you pick a build to play, you put it in, and you start trying it out. But this time, of course, there's not going to be any builds. There are new specs. Nobody knows how they're actually going to work. Well, that's why I decided to make you this video so you can get multiple builds for each of the new classes. So you can just put it in there, ready them up, and try them out on the beta. Of course, this is just for now, and I'll be updating them depending on what changes. And eventually, Snowcross is gonna know exactly everything about the specs and make their own builds, and I would just recommend you to go there once that happens. But for now, just go into the description, pick the spec you want, and use those builds. Or create your own and experiment with these ones, or grab one of these ones and change something up. Whatever, it is your choice. Whatever is more comfortable for you to enjoy the game, and of course, give feedback to the team. That being said, go check them out, and now I'm gonna explain what every one of those do in this video. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning, and let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about how I did this. Of course, we don't actually have the builds to be able to be played. So instead, what I did is kind of understand more or less how the traits work on each of these classes. Went through all of the traits, all the skills, all the professional mechanics, and kind of get an idea on how they work together, and of course with the core trait lines, weapons, and abilities of each of the classes. I already did this a little bit with my series of all of the elite specs, thankfully, so it wasn't that much work, and you can definitely go check them out in my channel so you can get a deep dive on each of the specs and understand them better before we actually get our hands on them. So there you go. And then depending on the class and the build, I compared it with previous builds that we already have on other specs. For example, Power Reaper right now, or Power Harbinger, really go perfectly with what DPS Ritualist is going to be, so you don't have to change that much. Same thing goes for something like Heal, Quickness, Berserker, and Paragon. All this will actually be very helpful on this build. So I want to say again, thank you Snowcross for giving us so much information about every class and how they work, so I was able to do a lot of these builds. There's going to be a lot of similarities, sometimes not, but yeah, it was very, very useful. So go support them. They have always been great, and I'm sure that they'll, do a better job than me once they publish these builds. But for now, these are the ones I have. And of course, if you find anything wrong, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll change them in the builds. I'll change the builds in the description so you don't get a mistake. So definitely check the comments if something changed, okay? First, let's go for Antiquary. One of the hardest ones to do because there's really nothing like it in Thief, which was one of the reasons why it was so much fun to make a build for this. First of all, Antiquary is a DPS build. We're not gonna give even any boons, it's just gonna be main DPS. Right now at least. Maybe this will change, but this is the situation we're in. Also, just so you know guys, I'm gonna only do PvE builds. Whoever's well in PvP, I have no idea, okay? Like, I know about PvE, this is my thing, that's what I'm gonna do, alright? Now there are two ways that we can make a build on this spec. The first one, which is very fun, is Prodigious Pincher. Your pupil after using a certain amount of initiative, this trait will override any existing artifacts when triggered. Pilfer, of course, is your F1 that gives you those two Antiquary skills, your F2 and F3, to be used and do damage with. So the whole point of this build is gonna be you using your weapon over and over again to do damage, and then suddenly it will trigger your Pilfer, it will give you an F2 and F3, and you have to pick in between them to do a lot of damage with. This will go perfectly with this trait right here, Accelerating Ephemera, that will give you 15% more damage after a period after using one artifact. We'll see if the Meticulous Custodian that makes you do more damage with your artifacts will be better, but I think this one is a very, very nice option. We'll get this as a second option too though, if you really want it for this build. Same thing applies for this traits as well. I'm not quite sure which is going to be better. For you to get an offensive and defensive one at all times, for you to be able to reshuffle them, I probably would say this is not going to be very good. Or this one that gives you an additional artifact slot. I'm guessing it's going to be this one, but it could also be this one. I'm not really sure. We're gonna have to pick here and see. But for this build, this is what we're gonna do. Now, what for core traits? Well, I set up this setup right here and have 3 of them because, well, for this build, you take critical strikes and trickery, and for the second one, we're gonna talk about you take critical strikes and deadly arts, which is kind of funny. So for this one, you want to get critical strikes, and this is always going to be the case because critical strikes is too good. This gives you better damage and better critical strike chance. This gives you more ferocity based on your precision, and this gives you more ferocity. The minor traits here, just more damage and more damage again. You can't really go wrong with critical strikes, guys. And with trickery, this is going to be perfect because you have more initiative here with quick pockets, so you can just spend more and more and trigger that pilfer over and over again. You have lead attacks, increased all damage dealt per initiative spent perfectly. We just want to spend as much initiative as we can, so this goes perfectly with this. This one doesn't really matter too much. You just have to pick something here, so it is what it is. Might as well give some boons when you steal. This gives you more initiative, which is nice too. And this oh my god, this just gives you more boons as well when you pilfer, right? When you steal. So this will make you just very, very powerful passively by just using your abilities, your weapon abilities, and guess what? You're gonna have a lot of initiative to be using all the time. Now for weapons, I'm not quite sure we're gonna go for. It is power, so I'm guessing it's probably gonna be spear or staff main hand, but I'm thinking that this could work very, very well with pistol. We already know this build exists and it's just super powerful. Just press 3, unload, unload, unload. And the thing about unload is that you spend some initiative, but you gain some as well. So with all the things that we talked about before as well, boom, you're gonna just be dusting initiative and at the same time getting it back over and over again, right? Making you be able to just pilfer all the time, use that abilities, have a perfect cycle. For utilities, I think it's just gonna be Assassin's Signet. The rest, I think, is just gonna be the utility from the new Thief spec. We're gonna have to go there and check which one is the best. Maybe on the Elite we go Thief's Guild, but look guys, we need to gamble, okay? If we're gonna play Antiquary, we should only get Assassin's Signet to do a little bit more damage, and everything else should be gambling over and over again. Otherwise, are we really playing Antiquary? I'm thinking Kanak Coin Toss for one, and Emergency Jade Shield just to have the stun break. But if you really wanna go even harder, you can go Inquest Portal Device, because I guess it does it. No, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, the portal is nice. The Shadow Step, no. You go Stone Summon Cannon, yeah. Stone Summon Cannon if you just want to do full damage, plus Kanak Coin, and instead you want to go for Emergency Jade Shield if you want to have the Stun Break, which is always nice in PvE, to be honest. And the Elite, it has to be the Scrit Scaffold, guys. It just has to be. You gotta see those beautiful scrits searching for antiques for you to use. Antiques. And the heal, I mean, you can take this one, but it really doesn't. Oh wait, you can't see it. You can take this one, but it doesn't really matter. You can pick whatever you want. And that's the first build. Now for the second build, as well, Antiquary, it goes in a different manner. In a different direction, I guess. Now instead of Prodigious Pincher, we go for Combat High. Gain Combat High when you use a Crit Snatch. The F1, increasing your outgoing strike and condition damage. And the difference is that whenever you use F1, you Crit Snatch, you're actually doing the steal, right? The other time, it's just, it kind of does the stealing by itself. Pilfering by itself. This time you have to press F1 by yourself, right? By the way, I'm kind of assuming that and Trickery, all these things will happen while you do your passive pilfer anyways, but I guess we can't really know until we try it out, right? But I'm assuming that the traits we're going to talk about here later are going to be better for this. So, we take Combat High, and this time instead we go for Scander's Lock, because whenever you Crit Snatch, the F1, you'll be able to use your double-edged skills on cooldown without triggering backfire. So you're going to be able to use your utilities over and over again. So this is going to be way more about you using your utility skills to do damage instead of your F2 and F3. It's going to be way more about F1ing, using your artifact, using your utility. Maybe don't put too much attention to the weapon, still a little bit of the weapon, but way more about that. You 100% take this too, and here on the left, I actually don't know what you really take. I think it's the same situation as before. You just don't really know. Maybe a split deck, I think, because you just want to have an offensive and defensive artifact every time. And you're not going to be doing it too much. So this way it guarantees the RNG to be good. But I can't really know, right? And then you go for Deadly Arts this time instead. Dagger Training, just some more power damage. Lotus Poison is not really useful. Reveal training, gain power when you gain extra power while you're revealed. Not really interesting either, but just more power. Expose weakness, deal increased strike damage when you target for each unique condition on them, just more damage. But the cool thing is improvisation. Use stolen skills twice. Reduce the cooldown of all equipped utility skills when you steal. You understand what I'm going here for, guys? You understand it? For this, guys, we're just gonna go over and over again and use your utilities, spend all the cooldown on them, use a F1 so that cooldown becomes lower, use an artifact while waiting for the utility to come back, and then do it again, and so on and so on. And in the middle time, we'll just be using our weapon. It's a pretty cool idea. And for this, I think it's gonna be way more likely for us to get spear and staff, or staff. Maybe I could see rifle. I pretty much doubt it, but we'll have to see. I don't see this being the pistol build though. That's my guess on the weapons. And of course, for the equipment, it's gonna be the same thing. The relic might change depending if someone makes a very weird build or there's some weird interaction that we don't know of. But for now, just Relic of the Thief, full Berserker, one assassin piece on back to get full crit cap, and then Drow Hunter relics with the weapon with Sigil of Force and Sigil of Impact. Of course, I'll leave everything in the comment, in the description. If I get anything wrong, guys, remember, let me know in the comments and you can check it out. Check out the gear later. Actually, from now on, I'm not gonna mention the gear. I'm just gonna leave it in the link so you can just go and copy it. That way, if I have something to change, the video is not gonna be incorrect, all right? Now let's go for the next one. Let's go for Ritualist. Ritualist is actually pretty interesting because, well, it doesn't really change that much for what Power Reaper or Power Harbinger is. And if we're talking about healing, it doesn't really change that much from Scourge either. It is kind of the same setup. For DPS, we're gonna go for Lingering Spirits, because obviously we're gonna go Minionmancer. We're gonna want our spirits to stay that way, stay there during the entire duration of Shroud and afterwards as well. We don't want them to disappear instantly whenever we leave Shroud. I could see maybe there's a build for Soul Twisting, the first spirit skill you use when entering Ritual's Shroud. It recharges instantly, but I don't really see it. I think there's gonna be more of like a support trait, but I mean, maybe, who knows. And then you wanna 100% take Spirit Strength. Your spirits deal more damage and their healing is increased. If you want to go for quickness though, you can go for Empowering Spirits, as it will give you quickness too. So we're gonna, you know, put a little yellow here, okay? So you know that this is a possibility if you want to go quick DPS instead of just full DPS. And for the one here, this is unnecessary. It just can't take anything else. Explosive Growth. When you summon a creature, deal damage to nearby enemies around that creature. Boom. More damage whenever you summon a creature. That counts for spirits, and guess what, guys? It counts for minions too. Which is perfect because you can bring minions. Ah, there it is. You will want to bring yourself your summon bound minions 100% because you can make the pure explosion on them so they explode, and then they can reappear and just do it over and over again, right? You can bring Flesh Golem. You can also bring the elite from this spec, which is very cool. But if you want to go full Minionmancer, yeah, of course. Some Bloodfiend, same thing here. I'm not sure if I would really bring it though. Not that useful. And yeah, you could bring the other ones, maybe Bone Fiend, but they're not very good. And not bringing Wells is kind of meme, right? You can indeed bring one of the weapon spells for more damage. Nightmare Weapon is super cool because it gives you lifesteal, right? Splinter Weapon is nice because it does a little bit more AoE damage. But honestly, they're not very useful right now for DPS. And if you're gonna go Minionmancer, you'd rather have the minions, you'd rather have the Wells to do more damage. I'll just take them in very particular situational situations. The elite here is very, very good though. You definitely can take that instead of the Flush Golem. I mean, it'll make you immortal. That's free-based. And your allies, right? And it gives stun. And some breaks, right? And it gives it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And for the traits, it's actually pretty funny. You would think that you would go for Death Magic, right, guys? You would think that. Because, well, that's the one that gives you minions, right? But sadly, all the things here are just Condi, right? This one just gives you more tankiness, which is not really useful in PvE. This one does a little bit more damage. Damage increased by 25% from your minions, and it doesn't say spirits, it doesn't say creatures. So does that mean that it doesn't work on the spirits, which would be very bad? And you have Death Nova here, which is only Condi damage. I don't know. I don't really see Death Magic being useful. I think it's better to just go for Soul Reaping instead, and just essentially have the same build that you would have on Power Harbinger and on Power Reaper, the same traits and same gameplay loop, honestly. Just go in, use your spirits, your abilities on your spirits. Before you go into your Shroud, of course, you put your wells, right? You put all your taking damage, you get out of this Shroud, you do your normal rotation with Greatsword and Spear, as you would most likely bring this. Same rotation as Reaper, same rotation as Power Harbinger, and then just use your Spirit's abilities, right? It's really not that, it doesn't change anything, I don't think. I may be wrong, but I really don't think so. I hope I'm wrong though, because that'd be a little bit boring, that it's literally the same rotation. But there you go. Same thing as Reaper and Harbinger. Relic of Fireworks, full Berserker, Relic of Drowned Hunter, 1 Assassin Piece on Helm to get your crit cap, and Superior Seal of Accuracy and Force on both weapons, which probably most likely will be Greatsword and Spear. Now for heal, honestly same thing as Heal Scourge. Heal Scourge. You want to pick here for healing though, Wielder's Boon to give the full benefit of weapon spells, or Soul Twisting, which both are good. I think Soul Twisting is going to be the way to go, because that way you can just use your Raptor Preservation to give Aegis and Stability like twice if you wanted, which is very, very good. But giving weapon spells full benefit, giving everyone like a lot of lifesteal is just super powerful. Making them immortal with your elite, very powerful too. But we're gonna have to see. To be fair, guys, I'm not gonna lie, you know, Ritualist Heal in particular is a little weak right now, and it needs more boons. So you can definitely try this, right? You will have to get Empowering Spirits to give quickness too, and Spirit's Grift to remove conditions from allies. Maybe Wandering Spirits if you're really struggling moving your spirits around, but I don't know. I feel like it's not gonna be the case in PvE. So this is what I would personally go for right here. Take a screenshot, please. Take a little screenshot if you want. The traits are gonna be the same ones. Of course, there's gonna be some changes here if you want to. You know, there's some things you can change depending on the utility you want to get, but the same thing as Scourge. Equipment is gonna be the same thing as Scourge as well, and the utility, you can bring some weapon spells here. I just gave them, you know, this utility because, well, you don't have the Scourge one, right? So you want to probably bring the lifesteal one so you can give your allies lifesteal, probably the elite as well, but you can just pick and choose whatever you want. I have recommended you to go check Snowcrow's build for Scourge because, yeah, sure, it won't give you all the information, but it will give you a good idea on how Necromancer heals and of course protects people. So it will give you a good idea on what to do on Ritualist too. Of course, it's gonna be Staff and Dagger Torch. I think there's a Dagger Warhorn build too, so you can just go for that too. But yeah, oh sorry, I wasn't showing it. There you go. Staff, Dagger Torch, or Dagger Warhorn. And now that we're here on the elite specs that are very, very similar to the old ones, let's go for Paragon, guys. Yeah, Paragon, it's gonna be essentially heal quickness Berserker, but again, just gonna bring exactly the same build. So the only thing that's gonna change from the heal quickness Berserker from Snowcrows is maybe this trait right here. Instead of Burst Mastery, just bring Heightened Focus instead, just because of the amount of bursting you're gonna be doing. You're gonna be able to do more healing, but you might run out of adrenaline. We don't really know, but it's really not gonna change a lot, guys. It's gonna be the same thing. You probably maybe bring some utility that is different here, but maybe brace yourselves because it gives you more barrier. Definitely you bring the ulti, the elite, but the other utilities is not very good. The main focus is gonna be on you using your chance to be able to support your allies. You're forced to take Feverish Pulse because of you getting Alacrity. You need to give Alacrity to your team, otherwise you can't really heal. You can here pick Brisk Spacing to reduce your chance, recharge your chance whenever you use a chance. So this could be useful. Maybe Reverberation because you can trigger Echoes for a second time, but Echoes are not very useful, so I don't really see it. I think it's gonna be Brisk Bracing here. Call to Action is not very good, and I think it needs to be for Calming Tongue here. More concentration, more healing. That's the way you go. But honestly, these traits are not very good. They're all kind of boring, and they need to remake Feverish Pulse. So there's not really that much to be talking about here. You know, if you want more information about Paragon, definitely go check on my deep dive. But yeah, it's a little bit cooked. Let's move to the next one. And for this one, I want to talk... Wait, Troubadour. No, I don't want the Troubadour. Galeshot, there we go. I want to go for Galeshot because there's some cool interactions that you can do here with aviaries. There's some cool new things that you can do with Ranger. It's actually very fun for me to go through this because I don't really play Ranger, so I had to learn a lot to actually make a build for this. So let's go through it. Now, Galeshot will only be a DPS and a boon DPS. There's not going to be any sort of healing, okay? But there's still two builds because there's a low intensity build and a normal build. So, well, let's do red for normal build and then yellow for easy build, for LI build. I guess you also need to go for the quickness build. Okay, let's do blue for quickness, okay? Blue for quickness, there it is. Cloudburst, as you can see right here. You will do more, you will give quickness whenever you use Bluster or Hawkeye, your big abilities on Galeshot. So the ones that you spend your arrows in. You know, you spend arrows, you get your stacks, and then you spend the stacks to use Hawkeye, and this will give quickness to your allies and yourself. This is obviously going to be the quickness DPS build. So blue. Then you have Gale Force. You will be doing damage, and more movement speed as well when you use Hawkeye, because your Wind Force will giving you more movement speed and more damage. But this time with this, your Hawkeye will not actually spend the Wind Force. You'll keep it a little bit for longer, right? So you can get this buff, 33% movement speed and 25% more damage. And of course, when you are just using your Wind Force, stacking it up to use your Hawkeye, you'll be getting this passive one right here. So 5% movement speed, 3% more damage per stack of Wind Force normally, and then once you use your Hawkeye, you gain Gale Force by consuming it, and you get this buff instead. So big damage and big movement speed. And here in the bottom we have Conjured Arrows Strike your target. After a number of missiles hit, release a volley of arrows at your target and gain an arrow. So this makes it so you just can stay on your Galeshot mode forever and never ever leave. Cool, because you never run out of arrows. So these are going to be the three types of builds that we have. Now here we have Block Together. This one is an interesting one because this also gives quickness whenever you have used beast skills, right? And it'll give quickness around the ranger. But the thing is, it also gives you a 25% increase of damage, which is very useful, even if you're not giving quickness. So I think there's a non-zero possibility that we end up using this as a normal DPS build. Of course, this will obviously you're gonna have to take this if you want to go full boon DPS, but I think it's gonna be likely that it's gonna be number one anyways. And the cool thing is that I made builds for avian pets, so you can get advantage of this entire thing here, right? The middle one is not really interesting. I think it's gonna be more of a PvP thing, honestly. We'll have to see. And then here at the bottom we have Fetch. Restore arrows when you swap pets. And I'm guessing this is gonna be a LI build kind of situation here. So you take this if you just want to be in your Galeshot mode for all the time, and you go for this instead if you want to go full in damage and, switching weapons and all this other stuff, right? And for PvE, in every situation, you just take this one. Wuthering Wind, damage and nearby enemies with a gust of wind. You just do more damage. Sure, you can give yourself Feel the Rush if you have more swiftness, but let's be real, in PvE you're gonna always have swiftness. You're not really gonna have to remove your conditions anyway, so this you take in every one of the builds. And there you have it, the three builds. Now for the traits, and I mainly did this because of the aviary thing, you take some of those traits. You go for marksmanship, because you're a Galeshot, you want to have your marksmanship. You are a marksman at the end of the day, aren't you, boys? Of course. Cannon Bond, doesn't really matter. When you swap pets, you get some boons. Nothing really biggie. Same thing applies for Alpha Focus, doesn't really matter. But here we have Farsighted. Here we go. Ranger weapon skills still increase strike damage. More damage, 10%. Good. More damage when you're further away. But don't get memed, guys. You want boons. Those are more important. That's 5%. This is a nice little thing if you're very far away, but ideally you want to be with your group. Okay? Don't get baited by this plus 5%. Having quickness, having alacrity, is might and fury is way more important. But 10% flatline, great. Precise strike, more critical strike chance, sounds great on your opening strike, but doesn't really matter too much, honestly. You're gonna be wanted to be 100% crit anyway, so it's just nice to have it, I guess. And then Predator's Onslaught. You and your pet deal increased strike damage on disabled, defiant, or moment impaired foes. Every one of the bosses will be defiant, so you're not gonna be worried about this. And there's gonna be a lot of conditions on other enemies that are gonna be there that will give you this buff anyways. For skirmishing, primary reflexes, just more vigor. Fury on combat. Oh, but look at this. Fang and Claw. Feline, Avian, and Drake pets gain increased precision and ferocity. Beast skills grant fury around the ranger. Boom, look at that. Your Feline, your Avian, and Drake pets will do more damage. And of course, we're gonna take Avian because we get the 25% buff from the trait we talked about before. So that's gonna make you do even more damage. Fuck. The best Avians we cooked with chat was indeed Phoenix and Hawk. Particularly Phoenix is better. What I understood, the Eli build where you don't take this trait might indeed have other pets. I would usually just go for the ones that you use on Untamed, for example, but we'll have to see though what we end up cooking with that. I would just go for, you know, if you're going for the Eli build, just pick the pets that do the most amount of damage and swap them, because that'll give you more arrows, right? Next trait, you deal more damage on having increased chance to critically strike while attacking from behind or the side when striking a defiant foe. Just 10% more critical strike chance, 15% more damage increase. Ambitious Quarry Fury grants ferocity and additional increased critical strike chance, giving you more damage and getting you to crit cap with the gear that we have right here. Relic of the Thief, typical thing, Rune of the Scholar, full Berserkers, and I didn't put the sigils, but as always, just Force and Impact on each of them, and you'll be fine. For utilities, sadly, we're gonna always have to, we're a DPS build, we are gonna have to go in here and put ourselves Second, Signal of the Wild. It's just necessary. It just does so much damage. They're so useful. You just have to take them. You can't take the new heal for the spec. You can take one of the utilities, and you can take the elite. I'm guessing you are gonna take Piercing Gale. This is the one that does the most amount of damage. It would be nice to get Wind Shear for the stun break, but whatever. And maybe Mistral, because you can summon a current of chilling air that you just, the projectiles that pass through do more damage, but I'm guessing that Piercing Gale is going to be better. We'll have to see though. And Perfect Storm just does a lot of damage, right? So why not take it, right? Just part of the rotation. And it's also a lot of disease, so there you go. And that is for Galeshot. For Luminary, and yes, I have added Troubadour again. It's gonna be very similar to builds that we have seen before. I tried to make a light aura build. I did, guys. I swear I did, but I don't think it really works. I think it's just gonna be a very, very similar build to what you see in other power builds at the moment. I doubt that you can really heal with this either. Now, it is important to know that they moved the Antiquary trait to here. I'm pretty sure they said that it was gonna be here in Burning Light. I'm not 100% sure, but it would be the one that makes the most amount of sense, as this is going to be the healing one as well. And you want Antiquary DPS to take a little bit of a hit in damage, so you cannot take Empowered Armaments, which is the obvious one for DPS. So I'm guessing that's going to be what it is. And you have this one for DPS, can increase strike damage when you equip a radiant weapon. Like here, stances grant protection to affected allies and blind affected enemies. This is always going to be great for healing. Yeah, maybe you can actually make a healing build. Who would know? And Persistent Blessing. Refresh the duration of your Luminary's Blessing and trigger its healing when you exit Shroud. I feel like maybe you even take this to just give protection to your allies on DPS. I don't know. Maybe you take this one in case that you want to go for the light aura build. Yeah, maybe. I'm not really sure, honestly. Anything could work here. So just pick whichever, I guess. We're gonna have to experiment a little bit with that. But here's, I guess, where the interesting part is. Also, I need to leave this part. This is just... There we go, that's better. Because of this Antiquary trait changing, what do you actually take for damage and what do you actually take for other stuff? Grant boons to nearby allies when you use a virtue skill. Reduce the recharge of your virtue skills when you equip a radiant weapon. The F1, F2, and F3 are very useful, especially as a healer. You can see this in something like Core Guardian being super good in PvP. So this probably very good for something like that. So maybe a healing build with this? Yeah, not a bad idea. Take it right here. And you can also take Master of Arms. Using a virtue skill recharges at weapon skills, Justice recharges Hammer, Resolve recharges Staff, and Courage recharges Sword and Shield, giving you the possibility of doing different things, particularly giving special boons. I could also see this as a DPS build as well, so I think it's going to be one or the other. I'm not sure which one's going to be. So let's give both of these colors. Boom, boom. And then here, Sovereign of Light. Your light aura detonates, damaging nearby foes and healing nearby allies. So whenever you have a light aura, you'll be doing some damage to your enemies. This could also be a healing one, but I don't know. Just more healing doesn't seem like what you would pick instead of just giving more utility in a PvE situation, right? Now for the gear, for the PvE DPS one, you're gonna want to go for Relic of the Thief on, I think, every situation. Bane Signet, and of course your new stances, or of course some other utility that you could be useful here. There is, look, the Guardian abilities, the Guardian utilities are super good. You can take Advance to give Aegis, or Stand Your Ground to give stability. You can bring Sword of Justice to do more damage. But you can also go for the new stances and do more damage with this one. Enfiltrated Stance, give some Light Aura that will explode and do more damage if you take that trait. Piercing Stance, enter a stance that causes you to deal more damage to crowd control and immobilize enemies. On PvE, this is gonna apply at all times on the bosses, so very, very good too. These two are probably gonna be the ones you want. And you have your Elite as well, that will do damage, and empower your allies with Might and Fury, as well as making them have reduced damage to them, which is super, super good and super good utility. That being said, for equipment, there's gonna be two things we're gonna go through here. We have two choices. You're always gonna want to take Zeal, because it just gives you just nice damage. The question is gonna be whether you take Radiance or Virtues, and this will depend on the build you actually go for. Virtues will make you do more damage, because you'll get a 10% more bonus damage after you use a Virtue. This goes very, very well with the trait Master of Arms, because you'll be using your Virtues to recharge your Radiant weapons, going to Hammer to do more damage, use a little bit, then leave, use a Virtue to recharge it, and so on and so on. At the end of the day, Justice is the one that does more damage too, your F1, so yeah, it's gonna be perfect. So going for Virtues, pretty good idea. And you can use your F2 and F3 to keep that Virtue going up and up and up. I could maybe even see yourself to taking Illuminating Inspiration just to make Virtue super, super easy to maintain at all times. That would be an interesting playstyle. Less skillful, but way easier. The problem with this is that if you take this, you're gonna have to go full Assassin gear, while also having Sigil of Accuracy to get yourself to your maximum amount of crit, to get you 100% crit. You can see it there. There you go. But if you go for Radiance instead, you're gonna get yourself your precision, your crit, through here instead. And with that, you can just essentially have full Berserker. You can min-max it with these pieces of Dragon, but you're no longer gonna have to have Assassin pieces, and you're not gonna have to have Accuracy. I think the Radiance build will make more sense for the Light Aura version of this build, as you gain a Light Aura when you press F1 already, and you're gonna be pressing it just off cooldown most likely, so it's gonna be perfect for you. And then for Master of Arms, or maybe even Illuminating Inspiration, you go for Virtues, and you have two DPS builds with different setups. You probably always go Greatsword and Spear though. I try to think about ways of making it so you are actually gaining yourself more Light Aura, but there's just not that many. It's just not really worth getting into them. Just if you're going for Light Aura, whenever you're in Greatsword, use Symbol Resolution to get the symbol field, and then leap with your Greatsword 3 so you can give Light Aura, and then of course do damage with it. That's all you can do. I really hope they put more stuff about Light Aura inside of Guardian, even in core, maybe some core trade lanes, maybe some core weapons, so it makes it, you know, it makes more sense to go for one weapon or the other in this particular build. But we'll have to see. For healing, we'll go for the blue traits, I think. I'm not sure if this is really gonna work, but you can test it out. You probably take Valor Stance and Stalwart Stance, but I'm not sure if they're useful, honestly, and you just don't take Stand Your Ground instead and Retreat, and you just go for the same build that we have for Firebrand healing. I really wanted to make my own build here, but I don't really see any changes. I don't know if this is gonna be ever better for heal Firebrand. I could see DPS being very good because of the passive damage reduction, but for healing, I don't see it. Alright, let's keep going. Dude, this is video. I don't know how much time we've been here. I've been 1 hour and a half recording this. For you, it's gonna be way less, but oh my god, it's a long time. We're not even halfway through. I think we're half. We'll see. Now let's go for Evoker. Yes, I'm evading Troubadour again. But Evoker is pretty interesting because it has a lot of similarities with other builds in Elementalist, same setups, but there's a few differences because of the new animals. Depending on the animal, you make another build, which is actually pretty cool. Can we actually make a toad build? Probably not, but let's see it. Now, I know that this is supposed to be a healing build as well on Evoker. You're supposed to be able to do this, but right now, I don't think this is very possible. I get that this is a little bit disappointing, but I just don't see this being possible with the amount of boons we have right now. Maybe with some very interesting weapon combinations, I could see it, but I'm not even gonna try. We can leave those to you can leave that to the nerds, to the people that are just insane at this game. I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna make a mess. I'm just gonna make 4 DPS builds, and we have 3. We have Hare build, we have Firefox build, and Firefox again, and maybe Toad. But yeah, for pure damage, it's always gonna be Familiar Focus. Oh, there you go, right here. You can go for Condi here. You can go for power. You can go for everything. Now for this one here is gonna be the boon one, because if you are a little hare, if you are a little otter, you're gonna give quickness or alacrity correspondingly, right? You're gonna lose a little bit of damage doing this, but yeah, that's how it's gonna work. This one on the bottom is gonna be the LI build, only one attunement one. I'm not gonna even try to do that right now because I think they needs to be changed in some way for it to actually work. There's gonna have to be buffed in some way, and depending on the buff that we get, I can see it being an actual build. And I'm definitely gonna make a video about that once we get our hands on it, but right now I'm not even gonna try because it really is gonna depend a lot on how it plays. Now this here is gonna go for fire. Now there's gonna be a power damage build for fire and a Condi build for fire. If you're going for that, of course you go for this. And here is gonna be for hare, because it's gonna be normal damage, a little bit of damage reduction, which is nice to have as always, but no point in going for fire if you're not going for the fox. And the same thing applies to here. Electro enhancement is gonna be for hare in order to do more damage with hare. If you don't take hare, no point. Here, if you take, this is gonna be for fire. If you don't take fire fox, don't take it. It doesn't really matter. This one will give more protection to you when you disable an enemy. This is gonna be great for Toad, for example, right? But you wouldn't really take this in a DPS situation. Even if you find a way to use the Toad, you would just, I don't know, you would go for electro enhancement anyways, you know? It just gives you more critical strike chance and does more damage as well with chain lightning attack. So overall, there you go. These are the traits you're gonna be able to take, the traits you're gonna take for these DPS builds. Now the first one is gonna be the hare build. We take the hare traits we talked about before, and you take this as well. It's the same build that you usually have on Power Tempest, on Power Weaver. Usually you take fresh air in these circumstances though. In this case it's not necessary because fresh air is just kind of exists when using Evoker. So you're going to have a cooldown reduction of your first element at all times. So you wouldn't really care about fresh air at any point here. Instead you just go here, Burning Precision, Critical Strike Chance, Power Damage here, Persistent Flames, more damage. And I know that there's gonna be some weird things with burning right here, but we'll talk about them later. But this is just gonna be some nice strike damage whenever you're doing fire, and you're gonna be doing it because you're gonna go between air and fire. If you're DPSing on this, you're gonna go into earth and water only in very well, water mainly just to heal, and I guess maybe you'll go to earth whenever your fire attacks are not ready. I would probably guess, but we'll have to see. And here just typical things for air. Ferocity based on your position feels nice. More damage increase here on defined foes, and bolt to the heart. Oh my god, look, you do 20% more damage when the boss or the enemy is with 50% less health. Dude, we have a new Reaper here, guys. We have a new Reaper. Okay, this is great. Okay, and maybe we'll end up playing this overall in PvE now. God damn, I'm excited for this. Oh, Evoker main, here it comes. The biggest and coolest thing about this build though is that normally you just go full berserkers, you go for full scholars, right? You go fireworks because this is just the best thing for the weapons that you usually use on Elementalist. But you go for a Quartz Sigil. Why do you go for a Quartz Sigil? Because you need it. Because you need it to get your crit chance, right? But with the new traits, oh, wrong scene there. There you go. with the new traits, with this new spec, you don't need that because you get yourself more fury, as you can see right here. Because you're using hare, you get 15% more critical strike chance, which makes you not have to take your Sigil of Fire, Sigil of Fire, that gives you precision, and you no longer have to take Sigil of Accuracy. That's awesome. And this also means that in open world, you can go for a Sigil of Bloodlust or something, so you can have your full stacks on one weapon set and then use the other and get all the benefits. And you don't even need Sigil of Accuracy. I don't know, this is gonna be doing a lot of damage, guys. I think so, yeah. For weapons, we don't really know what's gonna be better here. Honestly, every weapon in LE right now is very good. You can go sword dagger, you can go dagger dagger, you can go sword focus, you can go hammer, you can go spear, you can do whatever you want. Honestly, just pick one, go for the rotation you usually go on those weapons. It's not gonna matter. And this is gonna apply for the Condi builds that we're gonna talk about later as well. Well, maybe not for the Condi weapons. Actually, no. Look, we'll get there, okay? But for power, okay, just take whatever. It'll work. It'll be fine. There's gonna be a special, better option eventually, but don't worry about it. And for skills, definitely gonna be able to get yourself your fire box to do damage. I think on this hare build, I'm not really sure if you actually go for the fire utility. Like, yeah, it does some power. Yeah, it gives some might. It does burning. I don't know. I don't really see it. Your hare's agility also is like, yeah, you know, you're teleporting, you're doing some damage, you're on some power damage, but is it really gonna be that useful? I don't know. We'll have to check. But elemental possession, the elite, I think that one's gonna do a lot of damage. Summon all familiars to use their empower skills. I think it's gonna be a necessary one. Just gonna go for it. Boom, boom, boom. Do a lot of damage. I don't see it being worse than the summon elemental. So yeah, or the greatsword. So yeah, I think it's gonna be very, very good. Now for the second build, we have something interesting happening over here. We go for Inferno. And what does Inferno do? It makes it so all your burning damage does power damage instead. Very cool. So you go for Fox, but your power still. So the same setup as before. Same traits other than Inferno. Of course, in this case, you actually go for Fox instead of Hare. Of course, the Hare build could go for Quickness. This is going to be full DPS instead. We'll have to see if we'll need some concentration, right? To be 100% on Quickness on the Hare build. I'm guessing you're going to need some Diviners, but we'll have to see. But for this, it's going to be the same setup as before. Same equipment, same weapons as well. These are the ones that I think we're gonna go for, because all the Inferno builds go for Scepter or Dagger and Sword and Focus, but you'll definitely have to see. The difference is that this time we will have to use a Accuracy Sigil, because we are not gonna be getting the benefits from the critical strike chance of Hare, so you will need Sigil of Accuracy. Same setup otherwise though, and you will need Signal of Fire to get that improved critical strike chance. On that, same as before, same utilities, but this time you will want your Fox Fury, because, you know, look, it does all the burning, you want that. You also will do some power damage, and it's gonna get might, and the more might you get, the more damage you're gonna do. It's gonna be great. Just go for this. And it's a stun break, okay? Like, that's base, because this time you're gonna take the Fire Fox, so it's gonna be a stun break in this case. Very good, very good. And your elite, as we talked about before, is gonna be very useful. The last build we have here is also gonna be Firefox. I really wanted it to work with Toad. I don't really think it works with Toad. Maybe the Toad is gonna be, maybe you can bring it just because it gives a little bit of bleeding, I guess, and it's just a more defensive version of this build, but I just don't really see it. You're gonna go for Firefox anyways. It's gonna be full Condi this time, right? Full Vipers, full Trappers, Pistol and Warhorn as well. Maybe you can go for Scepter instead of Pistol, but I really doubt it. Sigil of Fractal. And you go for this ones right here. Top Fire, and then just some Condi on Earth, as you always would bring in this kind of builds. And here you're gonna want to get yourself Signal of Earth, want to use it. Signal of Fire, want to use it to inflict burning and bleeding at all times. Same build, same rotation with the Pistol. Just honestly press all the buttons, go from Fire to Earth, to Fire back. Maybe you're gonna end up needing to go for air a little bit. That's just gonna be how it is. And you're gonna get yourself some cool little signets. Cool little auras when you press them because of Written in Stone. It's gonna be great. And for the utilities, Elite as always, Firefox as always, and for the heal, maybe you bring that one too. You bring the other one. Well, I guess not the other one, it's the pet one. But maybe you don't even bring that. Maybe you bring Sin of Restoration. I don't know. We'll have to check it out. But yeah, that's how it is. Now for the Eli build, as I said before, I don't think I have that. I don't think I can really recommend you something, but that's gonna be one of the first builds I'm actually gonna go for and try and make work when the patch comes out. So I'll probably make a video that same day for that. So definitely subscribe to the channel so you can be ready for it. And there you go. That's Evoker. Now let's go for Amalagam, one of my favorite ones. And oh man, there's some very cool little things here. Still a lot of resemblance to the builds that we already have, but some very cool stuff regardless. So first we have two builds for Amalagam. Amalagam is only DPS, guys. Don't try to do this with Boon DPS. It's not gonna work. They said them themselves. Maybe there's gonna be like a special build that... No, this is not gonna work. And if it works, it's gonna nerf like this. So don't worry about it. Full DPS, that's all you have to think about. You can't take continuous Continuous mutation, in order to give your strain enhancements like your life steal and other stuff to your allies, you can indeed, but you will lose a lot of damage, so consider that. But you can do it. I think it probably will be something you can take, and people will love you for it in your team. Yeah, you'll do less damage, but like, people will love you. And why do we play MMORPGs, guys? For validation from other people. What else? So take it. Boom, let's go. No, but if you want to do power DPS, you want to go for symbiotic synergy. Evolve recharge morph skills, and those morph skills will do more damage, and they will do more strike damage too with this new trait. Great. And yeah, there you go. Easy peasy. Okay, you take this with silver lining. Wait, no, with the mercurial tendencies. Disabling an enemy reduces the cooldown of evolve. There you go. And this makes a lot of sense because you know your evolve reduces your morph skills, and disabling enemies reduces the evolve. Boom. 2 connections here. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Less reduce cooldown on evolve, reduce cooldown on morph skills. You do a lot of morph skills, you're happy, boom, easy peasy. And here you probably go for morph skill, because morph skills, harden chrome, morph skills and evolving grants protection to yourself. More protection seems nice, why not? Everything else here, you could take the other ones too. It's a nice interaction. I feel like it makes sense. You just get perma prot to yourself, why not, dude? And open world is gonna be great too, so yeah, boom. Although innervating alloy seems awesome to heal yourself every second after you have barrier. That seems great too, so you can go for that one too. And now for Condi. Let's go for yellow for Condi, no? Double Helix, I think it's the one that makes a lot of sense. Evolve has 2 charges and grants an increased attribute bonus. You want this because, hey, you have a lot of bonus, a lot of attributes with Condi, and obviously this doesn't work, and this will not give you more damage. So might as well go for this. And you take this with Carbolic Composition. Amalagam skills inflict poison on hit. Poison you inflict lasts longer. Boom, easy peasy as well. The same thing will apply for this as well. You can take any of this too. Although maybe you even take the... No, I feel like you're just taking a Verdant Alloy, right? I don't know. Maybe you take this one too. They're both fine, honestly. And there you have it. Power, build, Condi build. Now let's go for what you really want to know. The core traits, the weapons, all this other stuff. Honestly, guys, this doesn't really change that much from the normal builds you would have. It's just gonna be the same thing as always. Full, Berserker, Scholar, Relic of Thief, or Fireworks, depending on the weapon. Most likely you will end up going Hammer. I was thinking that maybe you could go for Mace and Magnetic Shield because of the trait that whenever you see something, you get more cooldown, less cooldown on your morph skills, and you're gonna be using them all the time. But I don't think it's gonna be worth having, you have a little bit more CC when you can just go Hammer. You already have a CC, and it's so insanely powerful, right? It's such an insanely powerful build, insanely powerful weapon. And I think I'm not wrong about this. If you go Thunderclap and you go Combo Field Lightning and then you go for Rocket Charge because he's a leap, you CC. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing that happens with Spellbreaker, or is it a Whirl? Yeah, so if you leap, you daze, and this will count as crowd effect, so this should work and give you some cooldown reduction. I think, let me know if I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that's gonna be the case. So yeah, I think you just go Hammer. As we talked about before, the traits are gonna be the same ones you'd pick in Power anyways. I thought about maybe going for Tools, guys, because of the, interactions, I guess, that could work, but that's real. Tools just doesn't really work. There's nothing here that's interesting, so you just go for the same setup as always. Maybe instead of Explosive Temper, you go for Aim Assisted Rocket, but I'm not quite sure. We'll have to test that out. And you go typical utility that you usually go on Power NG. Throw Mine, CC, damage, sounds nice. And you would probably go for Grenade. I'm gonna be real, it's just too powerful. It's so good, it's too good. But you don't have to, because one of the biggest reasons why you would go for Grenade Kit was because of Grenade Barrage. You're no longer gonna have this, so you can actually go for something else. You could go for the Rifle Turrets, for example. Or you could go for one of these cool little utility skills that we have on Amalgam now. You can go for Gaseous State if you wanna have a little bit of a mobility, right? You 100% want to go for Flux State. It just does so much damage. There's no reason not to go for it. You 100% take this. And maybe you go for Solid State. Wait, is that a Stun Break? Oh, there you go. Well, it still gives you stability. That's very useful. And it's a CC as well. Yeah, you probably go for Solid State and Flux State, I think. And Throw Mine. I think that's what I would go for, I think, for power. Yeah. Sorry, Plasmatic State, I meant. And then Flow State for the Elite. I think it's gonna be very, very good as well. And it's just such a cool ability, such a cool utility. Now for Condi, same as before, excels and firearms, but this one with the Condi trait. This time for the Condi traits, guys. That's what it is. That's all there is to it. And you take a spear this time, because spear is the weapon you use for Condi damage, of course. Now I think that you actually go for grenade kit and bomb kit, or maybe bomb kit and flamethrower. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see. And it's definitely gonna be full of kits, guys. You will definitely take plasmatic states, just like you did in power, because it does some Condi damage as well. I don't see why you wouldn't. I'm not sure if you replace it for a grenade kit or for flamethrower. And maybe there's a build with this that doesn't really go for this, and you just gonna... You can't, right? The only reason why Condi mech is super fast and super easy is because you have the signets. I don't really know what utility you would take to prevent this from preventing you to getting a lot of kits. I think if you go Condi, Amalagam, just go for the kits. That's just what it is. I mean, maybe you can take liquid state, but you're becoming a puddle. Like, there's no way there's gonna be enough damage. You're gonna become a puddle to do damage and just wait there and just, oh, I'm just a puddle, and I can't stop being a puddle. I guess it's only 1.5 seconds. That's a long time. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's plasmatic state, and you're gonna have a lot of kits. I think that's gonna be the situation here. You can play it, of course, but yeah. When I should have... Oh, man. I forgot about this. I forgot about the professional skill, guys. So, for Condi, of course, you're gonna go for Obliterate to get the bleeding, plus the might, and power and condition damage buff that you get. And for the rest, I think it's just gonna be optional, right? You're gonna be able to go for... They all do damage, right? So, maybe you want some stability and some lifesteal with Demolish. Maybe you want some Barrier, right? Maybe you want some C with Pierce. They're gonna do some power damage. It's gonna be fine, right? For power, yeah, you're gonna want to go for Obliterate 100%, which is the Giant Blade. And honestly, realistically, it's gonna be this three. Honestly, it's gonna be all the offensives on the top. They just do more damage. Maybe if you want some C, you go for Pierce instead, but I doubt it. I think you just go for all these three, which is lifesteal, stability, super speed, quickness. It's good. It's good. And there we have it for Amalgam. Now, these two last ones, guys, I'm not gonna lie, they're gonna be super simple because there's not really a lot of differences between these specs and what we have now. Troubadour and Conduit. Let's go for Conduit first. They're gonna be very straightforward. Conduit as well, only DPS, just like Amalagam. And we're gonna have a power DPS build, maybe. It's gonna cope. And a Condi DPS build. That one is 100% gonna work. So let's start with that one. So for that, let's go purple. You know, because Marlix is purple, Mesmer is purple, Mesmer, Conduit makes sense. Misfire, apply conditions to enemies when you disable them. Damage and daze enemies around you when activating Cosmic Wisdom. You want to be using your Cosmic Wisdom all the time. You want to do some CC to give themselves some burning. Burning is Condi. Condi is damage for you. You're gonna take recurring insight when you swap legends, reduce the recharge of Cosmic Wisdom for each point of affinity you had before swapping. Great, because this way, boom, you can do even more Condi. Look at that, makes sense. Now for here, I have no clue. Feel like you go for your maximum affinities increased, because that way you can just spam your Cosmic Wisdom, right? You have more affinity, right? Therefore, your reduced charge for your Cosmic Wisdom is going to be bigger. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Plus, on Malix particularly, you do use a lot of your utilities, right? So I feel like it works well. You just go all these three, you have more affinity, therefore your damage reduction, your golden reduction of Cosmic Wisdom is bigger, and the more Cosmic Wisdom you do, the more burning you apply, the more days you do. It just all makes a lot of sense, right? Traits, same as always. Typical trade line for Condi. You take corruption because look at all this condition damage. I mean, it's beautiful. Here on the bottom, it's just the best you can get. Maybe instead of Rising Tide, you take this, gain stability and heal yourself when you stun break. That's kind of nice, but I guess this is just base damage. It's nice to have. I don't know. I feel like this is not horrible. Maybe I'll take that. I don't know. Here you take this just to give some allies some beautiful boons. And here, charge mess because, man, Malix is hungry, okay? So getting yourself more energy, if you swap legends on very low energy, is going to be very, very good. I was thinking that maybe you could go for Song of the Mist But I don't know. I doubt it. I think it's gonna be Charge Miss for sure. Equipment, same thing as always. Full Vipers, Rune of Trapper, Seal of Hurt, Seal of Doom, Seal of Torment, Seal of Geomancy. We'll probably go for Spear. Spear plus Mace and Axe. A good amount of CC, a lot of Condi as well on both of these weapons. Relic of the Fractal. I was thinking that maybe you could go for Relic of the Demon Queen because the Sailing of Bow applies poison, and we're obviously going to be seeing a lot in this build. But I'm not really sure how this is going to end up working. Maybe this will not be good enough. I don't know. Consider it. Think about it. Think about it. And of course, you go Malix, right? You go Malix. You Embrace the Darkness. Maybe you go the leap because you CC when you leap. I'm not sure. But it's going to be the typical Condi Revenant gameplay. On Conduit, you wanna be using your Beligan Haze to CC and apply some contests because of that, and your Hex, either Vortex, to give some Torment to your enemies, and your Elite as well. Although, it only does some confusion. Maybe it's not even worth it to use your Elite on this one. Maybe you spam your Utility instead, your Beligan Haze and your Hex, either Vortex. What you really want to spam is your F2, right? Whether that is in Dervish form or in Mesmer form, so yeah, there you go. And there you go. That's a real build that we're 100% gonna play on Conduit. Now, for power, let's go and check that if we can make that work, okay? I think here you take twofold Empoldment. And why is that? That's because we're going power. So we want to get the benefits from the attributes from Shiro and from Raza at the same time, which we're also gonna be using again. Boom, with this. We're gonna make those attributes way bigger. Unique benefits granted by Cosmic Wisdom have increased their effects. So, Form of the Assassin, more power, more ferocity, and Form of the Dervish, more attributes to everything. So that's pretty cool. Also, caveat here, but there probably will be a build like this, but for Celestial as well. Can't really confirm that and how that's gonna be. If it's gonna be power, if it's gonna Condi, because it's a little bit more complicated. But let that for Snow Cross, okay? I'm not touching that. After that, I'm not really sure if you go for conductive armaments, maybe because you care more about your weapon skills, so you want to have a lot of affinity. But I could definitely see you going for expanded consciousness as well instead here, and going for just having more affinity. You don't really care that much about cosmic wisdom. You do, right? Kind of do, because you want to use it for your increased effects. So maybe you do want conductive armaments. I don't know, just so you can get that power very fast, right? But we'll have to see, right? Maybe you just care more about having that buff at all times, like, you know, have a longer duration with more affinity, right? I'm not really sure. I don't know. And also, I'm not gonna lie, maybe you even take conductive armaments in Condi just because you want to have more affinity, and just maybe you're too affinity starved and you want to use your weapon skills. I didn't think about that. I guess we'll have to, you know, test it out a little bit to know which one you will go. These two are obviously the same all the time, but these two here, I don't know. And for the rest, I mean, you go Great Sword, Sword, Sword. Typical build with power. I thought about maybe going Shiro Dwarf. I don't really see it. You're gonna go Conduit for the celestial attributes. You're just gonna want to go for that. And same build as always. Nothing really changes here, guys. Same setup as Herald. Same setup as a Vindicator. Relic of the Thief. Full Berserker. Super Rune of Drown Hunter. Seal of Force, both weapons, and Seal of Hydromancy and Seal of Air. Now, is Greatsword gonna do more damage, or is Sorcerer gonna do more damage? Who knows? We'll have to test and see how it goes, right? And there you go. Now let's go for Mesmer, Troubadour. And I'm gonna spoil it for you. It's just Chrono again. You're gonna use the same setup on power, right? On power DPS. We're not gonna get Condi, right? On power DPS. Same traits, same equipment as you would do in Chrono. There might be some differences because of the attribute change, but we're gonna have to wait for that. I'm not gonna lie, guys, to see how that plays out and how much uptime you have on those attributes. I doubt that we're gonna consider those attributes of the traits important for the crit chance. So I think it's gonna be the same setup, same weapons. We're gonna have to see if we use Spear, Dagger, Sword, or Great Sword, Dagger, Sword, or Spear, Great Sword. I don't know, right? And the same thing applies for Heal Chrono, right? The same build you see in Snowcross is going to be the same one right here. Same equipment as well, right? It's literally the same thing. You're going to go for Rifle and Scepter and Shield as well. Like, honestly, I would probably recommend you just go in here and read a little bit, see how the build works, particularly Heal Boon Chronomancer, to see how this one is gonna work. This is gonna be very, 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 very similar, especially after Bountiful Disillusion. That trait now applies the stability on 5, which is Chrono Split, but in this case on Troubadour is gonna be your Crescendo, so it's just gonna be playing very, very, very similarly. That being said, that doesn't mean that the traits and the utilities we're going to talk about are not going to be interesting, because they are, okay? So the traits you're going to take here, for damage, you're going to take, first of all, Shredding, obviously. Your loot damage is increased per wave, the increased strike damage while you have your loot playing. You want to have your loot playing at all times, your F1, Great Clones, spend it, use it on that. Syncopate, of course, as well here, for power damage. Your drums are going to do a little bit more CC, and they're going to do a little bit more power damage. So obviously you want to pair this up with this. And this is the cool part about Troubadour. I am not 100% sure what you go here on the third one. I feel like they could all be very, very useful on any situation, on power, on healing. I don't think a Condi build works here. I don't know. Maybe you can make it work. I'm not going to be the one who does it though. I'm not sure if I comfortably can say that you can play this Condi. So you're gonna have to wait for someone else to make that build. But yeah, I mean, after using Crescendo, gain a note every interval for duration. That's very useful. Gain attributes for each instrument you have playing. That's very, very powerful for more damage, of course. I think this is probably gonna be the one you take. I think that attribute, you just cannot not take it. Like, it's super useful, right? Super good. And when you have when you use an instrument above the node threshold, create an after image that plays that instrument after a delay. That's also super cool. Maybe even better than this, but we can't really know until we test it out, so I'm just not gonna put it in there. And Crescendo prompts your last played instrument to take Spotlight, augmenting Crescendo's effects. Playing an instrument recharges Crescendo. So this is more about doing damage with Crescendo itself. And you get that. You get yourself 25% more damage with your loot. So this also could be very good. Like, honestly, this is the one that you probably take, but you could maybe take any of these ones right here. I really think it's possible. I'm just gonna give this a little like, oh, maybe. That being said, I think these two will be way, way, way better for something like healing, to give more boons, to give more healing, to get more Crescendo, to give yourself more nodes so you can use them in a particular manner, in an interactive manner, right? So I think that's most likely where it's gonna end up going. I doubt that you take Fortissimo for healing, right? But this two, yeah, it makes more sense, right? Love Song, absolutely, you have to take this for heal. You give Alacrity to your allies, and you give Distortion to yourself with your harp. You need to take this. This is a non-negotiable. You take it 100%. And then hold the note. Crescendo extends the duration of 4 boons for nearby allies. Beautiful. Such a useful signal of inspiration, guys. Back again here. So useful for everyone in your squad. Honestly, I would even take this as a power DPS because it's so useful. Yeah, I'm losing a little bit of damage, but honestly, who cares, bro? It's signal of inspiration. Take it, do a little bit of damage, and be so much more useful for everybody in your team. Yes, go for it. So at the end, for power damage, your playstyle is gonna be, hey, you consider your loot the most important instrument, but you want to play every one of them secondary to your drum, for example, because they're going to give you more attributes, therefore making you do more damage. You play all of them, you go for your Crescendo, get more attributes, do even more damage. Your tails are going to be useful. The main one is going to be your elite, because yeah, you can give Distortion to everyone else. You take this 100%, at least in DPS. On heal, it's very, very useful, but maybe sometimes you take Moa, sometimes you take probably Moa, right? But yeah, I mean, it's AoE Distortion. It's incredible. And for DPS, you probably take Tell of the Turtle Mastermind just to do a bit more damage. The rest, and you know, the utility I showed before, typical thing that you would take on Power Mesmer. And for heal, I'm not really sure. Maybe Tell of Valiant Marshal just because of the barrier, maybe. But honestly, Mesmer has such good utility all the time that I would just recommend you to go check the Snowcross heal build on Chronomancer and learn which utility is the best that you want in each situation, because it's gonna depend a lot. And you can definitely pair it up with the new utility you have, but core utility for Mesmer is super powerful. And there you go. Those are the builds. I think we have them all. I think we got them all. I think it's gonna be hopefully it's useful for you. I'm not gonna lie, at the end of the video, I kind of started losing it a little bit. It's been 2.5 hours of me recording this. Hopefully it's gonna be shorter than that for you. But yeah, it's gonna, goddamn, that's a long one. So I will definitely update all the stuff here. If I got anything wrong, please let me know, guys. I will update it. I'll update the links. I will keep them up. Bother me. If I forget, bother me again. Okay? I'm a little of a zoomer guy. Okay? I have ADHD. Okay? It is what it is. So I need some help sometimes, guys. I'm gonna have to rely on you for that. Okay? It's very hard for me, but I try my best. So just keep annoying me. If I forgot, just come to my stream or DM me on Discord. You leave a comment here and just spam it until I fix it, because yeah, I need it. I need the help. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hopefully this helped you. And if there's a new build that we want to make and we wanna, you know, that isn't here and we can't update because it's new, I'll make another video for it. So definitely pay attention to that. See you guys around. Love you all. Ciao, ciao. Bye bye.